let's solve another CSES problem. So the problem name is forest queries. You're given an n-cross-n grid representing the map of a forest. Each square is either empty or contains a tree. The upper left square has coordinates 1, 1, and the lower right square has coordinates n, n. Your task is to process q queries of the form: how many trees are inside a given rectangle in the forest. Right, so let's check this test case, right? So 2 comma 2 is this one, right? And 3 comma 4 is this. So there are 3 stars, right? And so on. So basically, in order to solve this problem, we will basically store uh, pre-computed sums of rectangles basically. So basically what we will do is we'll represent pref, so we'll say pref I comma j is equals to sum of all trees in rectangle from 1 comma 1 to I comma j, right? Then how do you calculate this basically? So first let's let uh, value equals to 1 or 0 depending on whether I comma jth cell has star or not, right? Then suppose we are calculating for this, right? Then we can say that this sum will be equals to whatever this value is plus whatever this value is, right? Then whatever this value is, right? Then you'll notice that we have added this twice, right? Then we can basically subtract the same thing that is being added. Then we can subtract that, basically inclusion exclusion principle, right? So basically this will become pref of I comma j equals to val plus val is defined here below, right? Then pref of this will become I minus 1 j plus this will become pref of I j minus 1, right? And then we have added some part twice, right? We need to calculate basically this sum, right? And if you see this and if you see this intersection is this, right? We have added this twice. So basically we need to subtract this part, pref of I minus 1 j minus 1, right? Then yeah, once we do this pre-computation, then suppose we are given x1 y1 and x2 y2 as coordinates of the rectangle inside which we need to find the number of trees, right? So once we have this computation done, then suppose q of I x1 comma x2 comma y1 comma y2 is asked, right? For this query answer, how do you know calculate the answer? So basically this we need to find the sum inside this, right? Then this will be equals to this whole sum, right, minus this right, minus this. Now we have subtracted this part twice, so we'll add this. Basically, again, inclusion exclusion principle. So this will be equals to pref of x2 comma y2, right, minus pref of, so this was x1 minus 1 comma y2 minus pref of this will be x2, and this will be y1 minus 1, right, and we have to add some part because it has been subtracted twice, so we just have to add pref of x1 minus 1 y1 minus 1. So basically in order 1 we can answer each query. So let's code this approach up. So content comma q, right, and then let's define a grid where we'll store all the characters. So this will be of size and plus 1. Let's take some buffer and vector, right, and then let's take the input, right, then let's just take g of ij, right. Now once we have taken the input, let's do the calculation pre-computation, right, that we need to do. So we'll define the grid to store those values, sums, as pref, and this will be offside n plus 1 vector of int of size n plus 1, and we'll take 0 as the initial value. Then we say for int I equals to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus, for int j equals to 0, j is less than n, j plus plus, right. Let's first take the val. So we'll say if g of ij is exactly equals to star, right, then we say 1 else 0, right. Then we say pref of I j is equals to val plus uh, pref of I minus 1 j, right, and this will only be possible if I minus 1 is greater than or equals to 0, otherwise we can take 0, right, because there's nothing to the upper side, right, otherwise. Then we say pref of I j minus 1, right. Again, let's do some sanity checking, and the last part is subtraction, and that will only be possible if I minus 1 is greater than or equals to 0 and j minus 1 is greater than or equals to 0. If this is true, then pref of I minus 1 j minus 1, otherwise 0, right. Then once we have done this computation, let's process the queries, right? Then we say int x1 comma x2 comma y1 comma y2, right? Right, and then we just need to print out the result, right? So let's see what result will be. So it will be equals to pref of x2 y2, right? Let's just check whatever we wrote here. Minus x1 minus 1 y2 minus pref of x1 minus 1 y2. Now let's do the checking again, and before we do anything, let's convert them to one zero index base, right? Because they are currently one based. So y1 minus minus and y2 minus minus, right? And before we do this, let's check x1 minus 1 is greater than or equals to 0. Otherwise we can take 0 as default, right? Minus, again this will be pref of x2 y1 minus 1, right? x2 y1 minus 1, and in the end x1 minus 1 y1 minus 1. So 0, and let's check y1 minus 1 is greater than or equals to 0, right? And in the end just one thing is left, one term, and we'll do that only if x1 minus 1 is greater than or equals to 0 and y1 minus 1 is greater than or equals to 0. And if this is true, if this is false, we can take 0, and if this is true, then x1 minus 1 and y1 minus 1, right? So we just need to print this, right? So let's try to submit the solution, right? As you can see, we have passed all the test cases. So thanks for watching.